Behold what looks like an ordinary coil of magnets and coils, the very image of a magnet motor. Yet inventor Howard R. Johnson claimed this device was no ordinary machine.
Magnetism was caused by the movement of an electron. I said, well, if that's true, there's some important things we should be able to do with it.
Permanent magnet motor capable of generating continuous power from the magnets themselves. According to his 1979 U.S. patent, Johnson's motor ran solely through the superconducting characteristics of a permanent magnet by harnessing the energy of unpaired electron spins in its magnets. In other words, no external electricity or fuel was needed. The magnets did all the work. This bold claim, effectively a free energy or perpetual motion machine, immediately set the scientific world abuzz because it seemed to defy the basic laws of physics. Yet Johnson persisted. For 6 years, he fought patent examiners who were skeptical that any motor could run on magnetism alone. He finally won U.S. patent 4,151,431, April 24, 1979, for his permanent magnet motor. The patent abstract explicitly states Johnson's goal: utilizing the unpaired electron spins as a source of magnetic fields for producing power without any electron flow. The unpaired electron spins occurring within permanent magnets are utilized to produce a motive power source solely through the permanent magnet. In plain language, he insisted the magnets themselves could push the rotor and do useful work indefinitely. How the magnet motor was designed. Johnson's 1979 design is essentially a rotor and stator motor, but with a special magnet arrangement. In his patent, he describes a circular ring of stationary stator magnets and a 3-magnet rotor, armature, that is slightly angularly staggered rather than evenly spaced. This arrangement causes each rotor magnet, as it spins past, to be alternately repelled and attracted by the stator magnets. In his words, as the rotor magnets pass over the stator magnets, they experience alternating repulsive and attractive forces, which generate a pulsating torque. By carefully choosing the shape, size, and spacing of these curved magnets, Johnson believed he could sustain continuous rotation. Johnson did not stop with one design. He filed at least 2 more related patents describing different magnetic machines. In 1989, he was granted U.S. Pat. 4,877,983 for a magnetic force generating method and apparatus. Its abstract explains this invention as a linear magnetic motor. A permanent magnet armature is magnetically propelled along a guided path by interaction with the field within a flux zone, defined on either side of the path by an arrangement of permanent stator magnets. In other words, magnets on a track push and pull a magnetized armature along a channel without any moving parts other than the magnets themselves. Then, in 1995, he secured U.S. patent 5,402,021, the magnetic propulsion system. That patent describes a magnet-powered vehicle riding between 2 parallel walls of stationary magnets. As the patent summary explains, a magnetic vehicle with its own set of curved magnets is propelled along a path defined by the permanent magnets in the walls. These different patent designs all share Johnson's core idea: motion produced solely by cleverly arranged permanent magnets. permanent magnet motor. US 4,151,431, 1979. A rotary motor with 3 curved rotor magnets and multiple stator magnets, arranged so that like poles alternate to push the rotor. Magnetic force generator. US 4,877,983, 1989. A linear motor in which a magnetized armature is shuttled along a straight track between arrays of stator magnets. Magnetic propulsion system. US 5,402,021, 1995. A magnetically levitated vehicle that rolls along between 2 opposing walls of fixed magnets, each wall's magnets reversed in polarity. Each of these inventions claimed the same remarkable promise: continuous, input-free power from magnetism alone. Johnson didn't just file patents, he demonstrated working prototypes. In the late 1970s and 1980s, he invited technicians and even patent examiners to see his motors run. According to a 2024 engineering analysis, many independent researchers were allowed to examine Johnson's device with all components fully disclosed and to test prototypes in action. The report notes that in one detailed presentation, observers confirmed the magnet motor unquestionably operates autonomously and generates electrical power. In other words, when Johnson set his model spinning, it kept spinning and drove a small generator, at least for a time. The fact that examiners eventually granted the patent indicates they were convinced it did run as claimed. Johnson himself had an academic background, chemistry and physics, and he pressed the point that the device truly worked. "The devices obviously do work," he said of his prototypes. The Science and Mechanics magazine even featured an article in 1980 headlined "Amazing Magnet-Powered Motor" with Johnson on the cover, claiming he had a 5,000-watt generator in the lab. However, these demonstrations also sparked fierce skepticism. Leading physicists noted that conservation of energy seems to prohibit any machine that outputs more energy than it takes in. As one expert education journal explains, any perpetual motion machine is generally impossible. It would violate the first or second laws of thermodynamics. In fact, patent examiners had initially refused Johnson's application, saying it couldn't work. Johnson later won on appeal, but only after showing that something in his motor was actually moving without obvious input. Critics countered that just moving motion with magnets is not the same as producing net energy. In practice, no independent engineer has ever publicly produced a self-running magnet motor with excess output. Attempts to replicate Johnson's design invariably hit the same snag. Friction and losses always slow the motor down unless an external push is provided. One analysis of perpetual motion toys shows that when closely examined, hidden energy inputs or losses explain any apparent over-unity behavior. In Johnson's case, skeptics suspect that his motor only ran because Johnson manually started it or used magnets that were initially energized, for example by an unrecorded electrical pulse. No one outside his lab saw a free 110 kilowatt home generator in action. Halfway through Johnson's saga, an often-told conspiracy theory took hold. Big Oil, or the Energy Cartel, learned of Johnson's invention and allegedly intervened to bury it, fearing loss of fuel profits. Some claim that oil companies secretly bought his patents or pressured him to stop. However, thorough historical research finds no credible evidence of such a plot. In fact, Johnson's project quietly faded away in the early 1980s for more mundane reasons. A recent technical review concludes that the development of Johnson's magnet motor was abandoned sometime after 1980. It notes that, despite successful open demonstrations, it failed to store up sustained interest from academic institutions. There is no documentation of any patent buyout or legal action by oil companies. Rather, the likely explanation is that the mainstream scientific community simply remained unconvinced of any new energy source. It's true that Johnson himself warned, "We'd get smashed into the earth if he involved big auto or oil interests." But those statements reflected his sense of being at odds with established science, not documented corporate espionage. There are also modern online claims, on blogs and social media, that even decades later the technology is suppressed. Again, no hard proof exists. All we know is that after 1980, neither Johnson nor anyone else brought a commercial magnet-only generator to market. Patents eventually expired in the late 1990s and 2000s, with no product emerging. As one expert bluntly puts it, Johnson's work failed to store up sustained interest. In short, the free energy secret seems to have been abandoned under the weight of technical and theoretical challenges, not corporate intrigue. Supporters of Johnson's motors and free energy enthusiasts point to tantalizing potential benefits, though these remain hypothetical. A true magnetic generator that produced 110 kilowatts for a home would be revolutionary. Endless fuel-free power. No gasoline, diesel, or grid electricity needed, just magnets. One machine could, in theory, run a household on free energy as long as its magnets held their strength. Zero carbon emissions. With no combustion or fuel, emissions of CO2 and pollutants would drop to zero for that energy source. Climate and local air quality would benefit. Energy independence. Homes, farms, or remote communities could generate their own electricity off-grid. No more utility bills or power outages affecting them. Resource savings. Natural gas, coal, oil, all the fossil fuels used for power generation could be drastically reduced, saving resources and reducing geopolitics-driven energy costs. Johnson himself hinted at such benefits. He spoke of a 5-kilowatt generator prototype and a looming energy crisis that his invention could help solve. In theory, dozens of Johnson motors could power neighborhoods or factories with no ongoing fuel cost. The social and economic impact would be enormous. Of course, all these benefits depend on the device actually working as claimed. So far, no one has demonstrated a commercial magnet motor delivering net power to a grid or home. The lofty promises must be viewed with caution. While the idea of free energy excites the imagination, physics reminds us that any machine must obey energy conservation. Claims of 110 kilowatts from magnets remain just that claims, not yet reality. Johnson's magnetic generator occupies a fascinating middle ground between inventive optimism and scientific skepticism. He was a determined inventor who designed and patented several magnet-only engines. He built models that did rotate under magnet forces and convinced some observers that something happening